All right, let's just get right into it. For over a decade, Robert Downey Jr. basically was Tony Stark. I mean, he was a global icon, the literal face of the biggest movie franchise on Earth. But since he hung up the armor, his career has taken this really fascinating, almost rebellious turn. It feels like he's not just picking new roles, he's systematically deconstructing the very hero he helped create.
And you gotta love how he says it, right? With that classic RDJ charm. This quote from his BAFTA speech is just perfect. It's funny, it's self-deprecating, but man, is it sharp. He's openly admitting how huge the shadow of Tony Stark is, and he's basically telling us that his Oscar-winning role in Oppenheimer was a conscious effort to escape it, to, in his words, resurrect his credibility as an actor.
So that really brings us to the big question we're tackling here. Is this just an actor trying some new things after a long, steady gig? Or is something much more deliberate going on? Is Robert Downey Jr. actively using his post-MCU roles to take apart and even critique the powerful, charismatic savior he perfected for all those years?
To really get where he's going, you have to look at where he came from. Long before Iron Man, Downey was this electrifying, almost wild young actor. So let's call this the first phase of his career, his thesis, if you will. It was all about raw talent, chaotic energy, and total unpredictability.
I absolutely love this quote from the legendary film critic Pauline Kael, floppy-eared. It just perfectly nails his early vibe. He was this prodigious puppy, just thriving in these messy, complicated roles, playing addicts, hustlers, fast talkers. It was all built around this frantic, kinetic energy that you just couldn't take your eyes off of.
And of course, that chaos on screen was absolutely mirrored by his very public struggles off-screen. This quote, it's incredibly dark, and he said it to a judge in 1999. It just shows you the flip side of that prodigious puppy energy. His entire story, both his life and his art, was about this unbelievable talent that was constantly on the verge of self-destructing.
This idea really frames his whole story perfectly. It's the Mayan symbol for zero. And it doesn't mean nothing. It actually symbolizes regeneration, the potential for brand new life after everything has completely fallen apart. It's like hitting rock bottom is the only place a new beginning can sprout from. So this theme of rebirth wasn't just about a career comeback. It's been a core part of his story from the very start.
And from that total disintegration came the ultimate regeneration. This is the complete opposite of his early years, what we can call the antithesis. This is the disciplined, world-conquering force of Iron Man. He wasn't just some actor in a movie anymore. He became the magnetic center of an entire cinematic universe.
And he was totally aware of what was happening. He even called himself part of the problem. He knew the MCU was this stomping beast that was just changing the entire Hollywood game, and he fully leaned into it. He became the charming, witty face of that absolute dominance.
And, well, this number really puts it all into perspective, doesn't it? $75 million. That was reportedly what he made for Endgame alone. This wasn't a role anymore. It was a global industry. He was carrying so much financial and cultural weight, you could easily argue he was the most powerful actor on the planet.
And this quote right here seals the deal on that era. Marvel's head honcho Kevin Feige made it crystal clear. Tony Stark's death is permanent. They worked for a decade to earn that moment, and there's no magic wand that's going to undo it. So, that chapter is definitively closed, which left him with a whole new challenge. How in the world do you move on from being the most famous superhero in history?
Okay, so this brings us to the synthesis, and this is where things get really interesting. What he's doing now is combining the messy versatility of his early days with the sheer star power he gained as Iron Man, and he's using it to explore and deconstruct the very idea of power he used to represent.
Just look at his Oscar-winning role in Oppenheimer. It's a perfect inversion of Tony Stark. Stark famously stands up at a press conference and declares, "I am Iron Man." He puts it all out there. Louis Strauss, on the other hand, is a man who believes real power stays in the shadows. Stark's power was loud, public, and charismatic. Strauss's power came from scheming, from pettiness, and from a quiet, calculating stillness.
The key to that performance is that it's all about repression. Tony Stark was all about fast-twitch energy, quips, and action. Strauss was a smoldering slow burn. He was a man whose admiration for a greater mind soured into this toxic, destructive contempt. He weaponized his own wounded pride. It's the literal opposite of the hero we watched for 12 years.
So if Oppenheimer was flipping the hero concept on its head, his work in The Sympathizer is like a full-blown explosion of it. The whole series basically asks this wild question: what if a single actor didn't just play one powerful guy, but instead played every single face of the power structure itself? So in the show, he plays these four totally distinct, kind of grotesque symbols of American influence. You've got the manipulative CIA agent, the condescending professor, the schmoozing congressman, and the egomaniac Hollywood director. Each one is a different pillar of the establishment.
And here's the kicker. From the director Park Chan-wook himself, he says it wasn't a gimmick. RDJ is playing a single entity, this gigantic system of America. By having him play all of these powerful, patronizing guys, the show is arguing that it doesn't matter if it's the government or academia or Hollywood, they're all just different masks worn by the exact same force.
So where could he possibly go from here, right? He's embodied the ultimate hero, and now he's spending his time taking apart the very systems that create heroes. What's the next logical step in this incredible artistic journey?
I mean, we've watched him complete this amazing full circle. You have the chaos of his youth, the thesis, then the disciplined global superstardom, the antithesis, and now the complex synthesis, where he's using that fame to ask some really tough questions about power. He's really come all the way around.
And this, of course, is where the fan speculation online just goes completely wild. After taking apart the whole idea of a hero, could his next big move be to return to the very universe that made him a hero, but this time as its greatest villain, Dr. Doom?
And the theories are so good. Some people think he'd play a Tony Stark variant from some dark universe who became Doom. Another theory is that the real Dr. Doom gets plastic surgery to look like Stark to win over the public. But the one that gives me chills is this: a version of Tony who, after using the Infinity Stones, saw all the threats across the multiverse and decided to become its tyrannical protector, to build a suit of armor around the multiverse.
And that's really the thought I want to leave you with. Think about it. Tony Stark's entire motivation, from the very first Avengers, was his fear of a bigger threat out there, his obsessive need to build a suit of armor around the world. So what if the final, most brilliant act of Robert Downey Jr.'s career is to show us a version of that man who takes that fear to its most terrifying, logical conclusion? What if he becomes the very threat he always fought to destroy?